If you're watching this in video form, it'll be about 5 more minutes before we really get started, but we have our first guest for the evening, so I'm going to go in and click in and make sure I was doing the right thing with my recording. Rebecca, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
You doing all right?
Yes, I am. How about you?
Getting closer to this wedding. Yeah, I'll be happy when it's passed.
Is it this weekend?
This weekend, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we're watching the weather like crazy. You know, one day it's like going to rain, and then the next day it's going to be partly sunny, and
Oh, yeah, it is.
because
Yeah.
it's partly outside, so
Oh, okay.
lots of tension over the weather.
Well, hope it doesn't rain. It'll be a beautiful day.
I hope so. It'll be a beautiful day, whether no matter which is my personal opinion. But
That's true.
I have to convince some other people around. Oh, how was this week at school?
Oh, it seemed like long, but it's okay. I'll be glad when Friday comes.
Spring break next week for us.
Oh, good. I wish it was spring break for school.
Oh, you get it. When it's around Easter, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And then we get out May the 30th, when school ends.
Oh, already.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So how many of your homework tasks have you finished?
I did 2. I'm almost finished 3, and then I'll finish up on 4 this week.
Good. Did you attend Dr. Lamb's meeting this week?
No, I didn't get a 10. I had something to do last night, but what was it about?
It was about 603 and what you need to do. I bulleted my notes, and then we'll see if anybody else wants to add to them too. But we'll start there.
Okay.
Try to make sure we're all on the same page. I got a house full of guests, so we'll see how long I last tonight.
Oh yeah, because you did say that. I didn't know what you said. If you were gonna have it this week, I just got kind of confused. So I was just making sure I was on track. I know you said something about it, but I wasn't sure if you were having it because I know you said something about your wedding and the guests. So I was just making sure.
Well, it's not my wedding, so it's my son's wedding. But yeah, we're definitely having it on Saturday, whether it rains or shines. And
I know that's right.
I'll let you guys worry about Oma and Cap and Skip. But Dr. Lamb laid some rules down Monday night that were fresh to me, so I'll make sure you guys get them also.
Oh, okay. Okay, I got you.
First grade, right? Or kindergarten?
I do 5th.
Yeah, okay.
No kindergarten for me.
Nor me. That's
I think Benicia, I think I'm saying her name. I think she does kindergarten, I thought.
okay. Yeah, I was an elementary principal at 2 different places, and I found I wasn't even going to the kindergarten or first grade hall at all. Finally moved to middle school, which is where I think I truly belonged all the time.
Yeah.
See, I see Lainey's name posted up, but I don't see her yet. Lainey, can you hear us? Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I have my son here.
Son?
So I'm trying to mute myself so we can hear tonight.
Okay.
So I'm here just. Mama. Yeah, you want to say hi?
Hi.
Hi, what's your name?
Mama. What's your name?
Your name's Mama?
Yeah. Benjamin.
Say it again?
Benjamin.
Benjamin. I didn't hear it. Okay. Welcome to the class, Benjamin. Benjamin, a cyber bully?
Yeah, that'll be a good thing. He's on his tablet already.
Okay, let's see. We still got a minute. Good evening. Someone just texted me. Lynette, how you doing? Can you hear okay? Lynette.
She must can't hear us.
Susan's with us. Nikki is with us.
Hello.
Hello. How's everyone?
Hello.
Good.
Hello.
Oh, it's 7 o'clock, so let's get rolling, I guess. I want to start with something other than our usual calendar. Good evening, everyone. It's good to see everybody. See if I can see this. Okay, rather than our normal calendar, I want to start with notes from Dr. Lamb's meeting the other night. Did anybody attend or watch the video later?
I did.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, it was different. It had some information that I had never heard before, so I wanted to make sure that I wasn't being confusing to you or vice versa. So if you read something that I wrote in my notes that you think is wrong, it's a really good time to raise your hand and make a noise. And my notes are I just went down and bulleted. Can you see this screen? Can you see my word screen? Okay. So and these are not always directly connected, but they were things that I thought we needed to remind ourselves of this week. First off, OMA completion. The turn-it-in part of completion is in Dr. Stedman's internship shell. I don't have one at all. So for you to get past the turn-it-in requirement, you have to go into Dr. Stedman's shell with that one, with the whole document at the end. You can choose to go 1, 2, 3, 4 all along the way, but you have to do the turn-it-in with his shell completely when you finish OMA, and for that matter, when you finish SKIP. Any questions about that? Does that ring true? Okay. So, second bullet, I started a timeline for finishing tasks pretty generously. Now it's going to be like bam, 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 bam. So, get to it and write every moment that you're not at school. And he also noted that if you don't finish OMA SKIP Cap 1, that he's likely to sign you up for an audit of 603 in the summer term rather than putting you on in 605. Our experience is clearly that if you're not caught up when you start 605 and you're taking the summer term, that you really don't have a prayer. So this is in your best interest. But in the meantime, speed up if you're not already up there, just so that we know we're as close to finishing as possible. Okay, something that's been coming out of some of the evaluators with final products is the way that figures are done. When you have a figure, and you all have bunches of them, you write figure number above the figure itself. And underneath it, you do the title of the figure italicized. That's APA. And we do all figures. You don't need to do tables and graphs. You just label all figures. Goes at the top. Then next is italicized name of the figure. Okay? What was the next one? Okay. This was the one that hurt my feelings because he said we couldn't hand out any templates or instructions for skill. And I have a nice one. I hate to say that, but I do. So my suggestion to you is that you start with an outline of the rubric, of what's required by the rubric, so that you'll know what has to go into each of the tasks. Outline yourself, and then use bold-faced headings that reflect the rubric in what you do, so that I, Dr. Stedman, and your evaluator get kicked in the teeth with it, so that we know it's there. Okay. Sometimes things will get buried in papers, and they're there, but you don't necessarily see them when you run. What's the paper? Any questions about that?
Wild dogs.
No.
Somebody has wild dogs. Okay. SKIP is all about better communication between school and community for the purpose of improving student achievement, and that is a very important phrase. It is not how to get more people at the football game or how to get people at the PTA meeting, unless that PTA meeting is about something the parents are doing to help kids get better at school. It starts from a needs assessment. If you're from South Carolina, Dr. Lamb suggests you use the advanced ed information on communications from school if you're at South Carolina school. Set of recommendations. You have to have all three of these in your paper. Short-term goals, which he suggests to be social media. Using social media somehow to communicate with your families. Long-term goals, where you're bringing parents on the campus for the purpose of improving student achievement. You're going to have math night or whatever. I did have curriculum night one night in a really bad neighborhood, and I had one parent out of 750 kids. So I recommend picking a good title for your night instead of curriculum night, because no one wanted to come. But the long-term goals have to be about improving student achievement. And then there's also leadership goals based on the TWCS and the advanced ed that you will have for your school. And you need all three of those in there for proficiency. Okay? All three got to be there, and then you use them to create your task 3 plan. And those are my notes from last night. Do those ring true to those of you who were there? Do you remember hearing all that? Yes, no, maybe? Okay. Susan?
Yeah, it was pretty much everything. I may be wrong in that APA, but when I was working on my figures, I thought the word figure in italics was supposed to go underneath. Am I wrong in saying that? And I may be.
I looked it up today and saw it at the bottom, but those things go on. Give me just a second on your desk. No. When in doubt, consult your dissertation. Of course, I use no figures in my dissertation. Okay, I'll find out and I'll post that out, okay? So don't write anything until I send it back to you. They changed all those rules just as I finished my doctorate, and so I could definitely pick up on some old information, but I'll send that out in an email. Anything else? Thank you.
I had to correct. I just know that I had to correct some of my figures, my tables, and that was one of the things that I needed to address. I maybe read it wrong, and maybe it was the title. I think so, yes, that it was. I would have to look at the information that I had, but I could have swore it said put it below in italics, the word figure in italics, put the number beside of it, and the title right beside of it.
Okay.
But I'll double check because I don't want to tell anybody wrong either. So I'll look at my paper, make sure.
Well, look at your paper, and I'll also check with one of the evaluators and see what they're seeing it as. Okay. I'll have that for you tomorrow. Anybody else have anything that they heard last night or were surprised by anything I said tonight that you were surprised by?
He told us to use the same school profile. Don't need to make a new one, just copy and paste.
Yes. Yes. But sometimes you have to change the sentences around a little bit at the beginning and the end. So try to be artistic in your writing, but not too artistic. It is basically a cut and paste job. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Great. Thank you. Let me get this weekly calendar up then. Did the weekly calendar just show up on yours?
Mm-mm.
No?
No.
Okay. How about now?
Mhm.
Good. Thank you. Okay, we're up to week 7, I believe it is. It's time for OMA 3 to be done, and OMA 4 will be done at the end of next week, right?
Yes.
Okay, I know everybody's excited about that possibility. Okay, this week we were looking at cyberbullying and policies. Anybody find anything interesting from your school board policy book on cyberbullying? Go ahead. Susan, it just skipped to you. I don't know why. Anybody look up anything on cyberbullying? First off, tell me what cyberbullying is.
Well, for my school board policy, cyberbullying was not its own beast. It was underneath the discrimination, harassment, and bullying policy.
Okay.
So it was a piece of it. And it was under harassment especially. It said, harassment and bullying may occur through electronic means, cyberbullying such as through the internet, emailing, or text messaging, or by use of personal websites to support deliberate and repeated behavior intended to cause harm to persons or groups.
Yes. And when does a school become involved in that cyberbullying?
When someone reports it to the school official, or if someone notices an employee, an employee is required to report it even if they notice it.
Yes. Yeah. Any kind of bullying you're required to notice.
Right.
One of our text suggestions is that you include cyberbullying in the bullying curriculum, in the bullying meetings at the beginning of the year, and make a point of including it there. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of bullying do you have to actually deal with? If I write a blog and say someone's ugly, is that something that the principal should chase down and find out?
No.
You said if you write a blog?
If I had a blog
Uh-huh.
and I started writing things about my school people, I really didn't enjoy high school. I could imagine doing this pretty easily. So I'm in high school and I'm writing a blog about people at school and saying this person's ugly and that person's ugly and that person's ugly. Is that something the school would address?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't think so.
According to our policy, if it has to deal with physical appearance is listed in the behavior that could be categorized as harassment and bullying. It's up to the principal or the investigator to determine the severity of
The
bullying. And then if it's a blog all about people being ugly, then that would be repeated. That would definitely be repeated behavior, right?
Yeah. What did I? It's all right.
But if somebody brought it to your attention, or the teacher's attention, or the administrator, then you possibly would have to deal with it. I've had that happen at school before.
Yeah, the test that our textbook pointed out was that you have to look at the recipient and how they're affected by it and would a normal person react negatively to it. Okay. Now, when as a school do you have to work with something with cyberbullying? How do you tell the difference? Let me phrase that differently. How do you tell the difference between the things you don't have to deal with and the things you do have to deal with?
If they did it on school property.
Definitely if it's done on school property. Cyberbullying usually is not done on school property. So when does a school what's the dividing line? What's the difference between when you address it and when you might not?
When
If it's disruptive to learning.
yeah, when it starts to
It's disruptive to learning. It's exactly, well, it's a First Amendment question, freedom of speech. I can have my opinion about any of it,
Mm-hmm.
and voice them as such, and not be punished as a student unless it infringes on what happens at school that day.
Mm-hmm.
And the text made it clear that hasn't been real well defined.
Right.
Different courts have decided in different ways. So what do you do as a non-lawyer, which you're not, and I assume you never will be? How do you deal with it as a non-lawyer? What would be your gut feeling?
I mean, you have to investigate as much as you can and try to get as much information as you can without violating, students' privacy.
Okay. This is also one of those cases where it's a really good idea to bring someone else in,
Mm-hmm.
and not have it all riding on your head,
Mm-hmm.
as to whether you make a judgment or not. Okay. Okay. What if these students have this website, and instead of talking about their fellow students and how they're not very attractive, sorry, there's a party going on in the back of my house. It just came up to the front for a moment. Remember, we have a wedding on a Saturday. But what if they start talking about me, the principal? I mean,
Well, it would still be disruptive to learning, right?
it's a different test, though. I mean, I'm 6'5". I can't tell you how many times I've been called Frankenstein or the Jolly Green Giant, my two favorites. At what point?
What I kept reading about was that if a reasonable person deems it to be bullying, a reasonable person would agree that it is harassment or bullying.
Also really grabbed hold of another line in our reading today, which was school people ought to grow thick skins.
Yeah.
There's a certain point where if kids can get under your skin, are you really in the right job? Yeah, I think the single best discipline thing I ever did was when I was an assistant principal in middle school. And I was sixth grade. I was in charge of sixth grade, and they left for gym and special areas. And one of them sneaked back in, wrote down the middle of the hall, "Mr. Robertson is a punk A.B." Unfortunately, he misspelled my name. He misspelled B. And I didn't have time, the kids were coming back from Robertson. I didn't have time to get cleaned up. I knew exactly who had done it, but I also knew that I wouldn't be able to prove it. So the kids came back in, and I was looking at them, and they were all kind of, and I looked at some more, and one of them finally said, "Mr. Robertson, what are you going to do?" And I said, "Well, how can I respect someone who can't spell bad words?" And they started making fun of him in the hall. He ended up moving. The other kids made so much fun of him. I left the writing up for 3 days just to prove that I have a thick skin, and it can go a long ways that way. But you have to choose your own way. You have to choose your own battles. And what did we learn from the story of Bobby and the test cheating last week? What's most important in your approach to things?
Consistency.
Consistency. So if you're going to attack cyberbullying, it's got to be everybody. It's got to be Bobby, whether he's the son of the nephew of the guy on the school board, or the boy who lives out of his car. You got to be consistent and be yourself and be legal. Okay. So make sure you include all this stuff in your beginning of the year information. I've about found all I need to find tonight. Anybody have anything they'd like to bring up? A question came from their reading or anything along those lines?
I know this is a situation that's happening in our school. We currently have students that are using their cell phones. I guess on the iPhone, there's a airdrop mode. So a lot of the kids have been like taking pictures of other kids while they were maybe on the bus sleep or eating, like making really, funny, not, normal pictures, and then kind of like airdropping them. So that's like been a big social media. That's been a really big, that's been a really big social media issue that we've been dealing with lately with the airdrops, and embarrassing a lot of the kids and kind of like making them feel uncomfortable.
Well, how are you attacking it? How's the school attacking it?
Well, right now they're it's mostly happening with the 8th grade. So they because I guess with records on your phone you can have the pictures. So they've pretty much been just kind of like calling up a lot of the people and getting statements from the kids right now.
What do you think will be the follow-through?
I don't know, because like our phones are really not supposed to be allowed in school, but I guess in some classrooms they're able to use it for technology, like if they're doing a Quizlet or a Kahoot. Like I don't know. I really don't know what's going to happen. It's interesting to see what's going to happen.
You might want to take a guess. What would you do? Anybody else? You're finding names, I assume, Nikita.
Yeah, so they know the names of like the students that have airdropped because it pulls up.
So they pretty much have the info. So is that harassment? Is that bullying? When you're afraid?
Do they do it more than once, or they just did it at one time?
No, they're doing multiple, just like doing multiple students, like maybe kids sleeping, or like I said, they were eating at lunch and, like putting the spoon up to their mouth and like making funny faces and just kind of like pranking people.
So kind of like photo bombing, or getting like, are they mean pictures, or are they like taken with the intention of?
Yeah, they're like mean pictures. There's like no nice pictures.
Yeah, like pictures of someone asleep with drooling,
Mm-hmm.
like that.
But is that really called bullying? I don't know. The bullying is a fine line.
Very.
Yeah. I thought our reading said something along the lines of like you have to look at the impact it's having at the receiving person. So like if they don't feel anything about it, or if they don't even know about it, then it's not really, I guess, an issue per se.
However, if you're a middle schooler and someone has any kind of picture of you that's not perfect, you're upset.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you're a middle school, a lot of people, you might not even admit that it hurts your feelings. There's lots of kids who kind of brush it off, but it does hurt their feelings, but they're not going to say it hurts their feelings.
Because you got to be tough.
Right.
Yeah.
But and I think with bullying, it has to be like repeated.
It does.
This sounds like it's repeated across multiple.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's happening. It's been happening frequently for like the past 2 weeks. And before, teachers didn't know what was going on. And I guess someone came out and said, the person who was, getting their picture that was taken when they wasn't, looking nice, they reported it to the principal.
Okay, so my guess is it's going to be punished as bullying.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is disruptive to the school. That's what everyone's talking about. Everyone's laughing at people, behind their backs, or probably out in front, since it's middle school. So it is a danger to school, and I'm not sure that there's a First Amendment right that allows you to do such a thing.
Mm-hmm.
According to my text, what might one do to work with this a little bit? There were some suggestions. One that surprised me, frankly, but it was to involve parents. How do you think that would go with this particular case that Nikita's brought up?
Mm.
I didn't hear what you said. What did you say?
How would you bring in parents? Especially if you knew the name of the person who's been doing the photos. Would you bring in her or his?
Yeah.
I bet it's
Yeah.
don't y'all? It's probably a girl. So would you bring her mom and dad in? On
Yeah.
I think it would be wise to inform them what's going on.
Yeah, I do
Yeah.
too. That's a
Yeah.
kind of thing that you have to nip in the bud in middle school, or it becomes a lifelong problem. Okay. Nikita, thank you. That was a good one. Now you have a homework assignment though, which is when it's resolved, you have to come back and report. All right.
Yes, I definitely will.
So when you know what the resolution is, when we do calendar, whatever week that is, then you have to interject and say, we got the results on the question about cyberbullying. And
Okay, definitely.
Okay, well, it won't be next Tuesday night because next Tuesday is what?
Spring break.
Spring break.
Great, yay. So, write Oma, like crazy. Get ready for case studies and all that stuff. Write as much and as fast as you can go, and the farther you can get, the better off we all are. Okay?
All right.
Okay, so my task is to find out which format we're using for figures, and I will make sure that that gets put into an email to all of you no later than sometime tomorrow. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Have a good one.
You too. Good night.
Really?